You just put your phone down. 10 seconds later, you picked it up again. You don't know why. There was no notification. No one texted. Nothing happened. You just reached for it. If that just described the last 10 minutes of your life, subscribe. Because on this channel, we break down exactly why your brain does things like this without asking you first. Here is the thing. You are not distracted because you are lazy. You are not addicted because you have no willpower. What is actually happening is far more interesting than that. Your brain is running a program in the background, a loop. And every time you pick up your phone for no reason, that loop is doing exactly what it was trained to do. Today we are going to break that loop apart and show you exactly what is happening inside your mind every single time your hand reaches for that screen. Point number 1. Your brain was trained to expect a reward. Think about the first time you ever checked your phone and saw something exciting. A message from someone you liked, a post that made you laugh, a notification that made you feel noticed. Your brain recorded that moment. It tagged it. It said, "This action led to something good. We are doing this again." This is called a habit loop. There is a cue, which is usually a feeling like boredom or restlessness. Then there is a routine, which is picking up the phone. Then there is a reward, which is something stimulating on the screen. The problem is, the reward does not have to show up every time. In fact, the loop gets stronger when the reward is unpredictable. Sometimes you pick up your phone and there is nothing interesting. Sometimes there is. That randomness is exactly what makes it so powerful. Psychologists call this a variable reward schedule. It is the same mechanism that makes slot machines so hard to walk away from. Your brain does not chase guaranteed rewards. It goes crazy for maybe. So every time you pick up your phone and find nothing, your brain does not give up. It just waits for the next cue and tries again. Point number 2. Boredom has become physically uncomfortable. There was a time when boredom was just a neutral feeling. You would sit, stare out a window, let your mind wander. It was not comfortable, but it was survivable. That tolerance has collapsed for most people. Today, the moment your brain hits even a tiny gap in stimulation, it panics. It sends a signal that feels almost like urgency. Do something, check something, get information, move. And the fastest way to silence that signal is the device already in your hand. This is not weakness. This is conditioning. Years of constant stimulation have lowered your brain's threshold for discomfort. What used to feel like mild boredom now feels like restlessness. What used to feel like restlessness now feels like anxiety. And the phone fixes it instantly, every single time. So your brain has learned something dangerous. Stillness is a problem. The phone is the solution. Point number 3, it is no longer a choice, it is a reflex. This is the part most people do not realize. After a habit has been repeated enough times, it stops living in the conscious part of your brain. It moves into a deeper, faster, more automatic region called the basal ganglia. This is the part of your brain responsible for instinct and reflex. At this point, the behavior no longer requires a decision, it just happens. You are sitting on the couch and your hand moves before your mind registers anything. You are mid-conversation and your eyes flick down before you chose to look. You finish a task and reach for the phone before the sense of completion even lands. This is not you being weak. This is your brain being efficient. It automated a behavior that used to require effort. That is actually what brains are designed to do. The issue is that the behavior it automated is one that drains your focus, fragments your attention, and keeps you in a permanent low-level state of distraction. But here is the uncomfortable truth. The phone is not the real problem. The feeling you are running from is. Point number 4, you are escaping something without knowing it. Every time you pick up your phone for no reason, something was happening in your mind a split second before. Maybe a thought you did not want to sit with, a task that felt overwhelming, a silence that made you feel slightly empty, a moment where your brain had nothing to hold on to and reached for the nearest thing it could grab. The phone has become a universal escape hatch, not just from boredom, from discomfort of any kind, frustration, uncertainty, a conversation you're avoiding, a feeling you cannot name, a quiet moment that somehow feels like a threat. You do not always know what you're escaping from. That is exactly what makes the habit so hard to break. You cannot address a feeling you never actually noticed. Most people spend their entire day at a 1-inch depth of emotional awareness. Reaching for the phone keeps it that way. It fills the gap before the real feeling ever gets a chance to surface. Here is the core truth behind all of this. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it learned to do. It found a fast, reliable, always available way to feel something when nothing was happening, and to escape something when too much was happening. The phone did not create a weakness in you. It found a gap that already existed, the need for stimulation, the discomfort with stillness, the desire to feel connected or entertained or distracted. It stepped into that gap so perfectly that your brain handed over the controls without even putting up a fight. You are not someone with no discipline. You are someone whose brain found a very efficient shortcut. And now it uses that shortcut hundreds of times a day without asking for your permission. You cannot break a reflex by trying harder, but you can interrupt it by creating a tiny moment of awareness between the cue and the action. The next time your hand moves towards your phone, pause for just 2 seconds. Do not judge it. Do not fight it. Just notice it. Ask yourself one quiet question. What was I just feeling? That is it. That is the whole shift. You are not trying to stop the habit in that moment. You are just shining a light on the trigger, because the trigger is where the real information lives. And once you start seeing the trigger clearly, the hold it has on you slowly begins to weaken. Awareness is not the final solution, but it is the only honest starting point. Every time you pick up your phone without knowing why, your brain is sending you a signal, not about the phone, about something underneath it, a feeling it wants to avoid or a gap it wants to fill. You have been answering that signal automatically your entire day, every day, without ever reading the message. Starting to read it changes everything. If this helped you see your own mind a little more clearly, consider subscribing. Every week we break down the hidden psychology behind the everyday things you think, feel, and do without realizing why. Your mind is not working against you. It just needs to be understood.